Goose Island is probably the most polarizing brewery in the country. Today we're going to delve into their story, taste one of their newest releases from their Bourbon County brand, the Bramble Rye Stout. We're going to figure out what the hell happened with these guys and why it's important. See you in the episode. Goose Island began its life in 1988 as a brew pub in Lincoln Park, Chicago. Founder John Hall was allegedly inspired for this endeavor by a beer trip through Europe. He tasted all these delicious beers and was like, shit, why don't we have these back home in Chicago specifically? He had his son, Greg, go to the Siebel Institute, study to become a brewer there, and came back and was the brewmaster for Goose Island. They had a lot of success. In 1995, they opened a production brewery. In 1999, they opened a second brew pub. So they were going quite strong. And love them or hate them, Goose Island has had a significant impact on the craft beer industry, and actually further reaching that as well, as you'll find out. For one, these guys are credited with the first commercial version of a beer being aged in a bourbon barrel. This happened in 1992 when Greg apparently was at a dinner with Jim Beam and, sparks flew. They actually entered this into the Great American Beer Festival, a bourbon barrel-aged stout. And while the beer was really well received, there wasn't a category to judge it in, so nothing happened. Another interesting thing about Goose Island is the number of brewers who used to work there who started their own wonderful breweries. For example, Firestone Walker, Southern Tier, Revolutions, and quite a few more began as ex-Goose Island members. In truth, probably the biggest splash that this brewery made, though, was when they sold to Anheuser-Busch in 2011 for around $40 million. These were not the first craft brewers to sell out. Red Hook actually was bought by Budweiser in, I think, 1994. So this was already happening, but there was a few important differences in Goose Island selling. For one, they had accumulated a ton of respect in the industry. I mean, they were putting out awesome beers. The Bourbon County line was killer. People went bonkers when it was released. I had their 2-year-old bourbon barrel, oh God, what the fuck was the name of it? Barley wine, the bourbon barrel barley wine from them that was 2 years old, and it changed my life. I started brewing beer after I had that. I had that fucking beer and I was just like, whoa. And I think a lot of people have had a similar experience with them. So it was them selling because of how much respect they had gathered, the amount of money involved. I mean, 40 million was pretty damn big for a craft brewery. And also, this marked the first time that you saw Goliath start buying up David's. And it's a trend that continued for quite a while. And it started to, I think, slow down because social media is so powerful now and people are bitching enough that big breweries are like, you know what, I'm good. we'll be good. But anyway, enough history. Let's put rubber to the road and taste what Goose Island has to offer now. It looks like a stout. Pitch black, really beautiful creamy tan head on top. It looks like it should. I wouldn't expect anything less. Wow, the nose is really good. It makes me think of like a blackberry pie that has been scorched on the top of it, like someone turned the broiler on accident, and so it's slightly burnt on top. So it's got this cooked kind of pie fruit aroma. There's definitely some of that whiskey coming through for sure. It has I don't know if I could identify it as rye, but it has kind of that bourbon character to it, that bourbon barrel character. Yeah, it really smells pretty fucking good. Wow. there's some clashing flavors here. It's kind of tannic and kind of burnt, a little acrid, sharp. Wow. The palate and the nose are completely different. The nose is quite good. I mean, it really quite good. Very distinct. The palate though, if you've ever tasted a big stout that's aged in a Cabernet barrel, I've never had one I've enjoyed, and this has a similar palate where it's kind of like tannin and roast, which are two pretty intense flavors, are just butting heads and fighting each other. This is really what that reminds me of, just a clash of characters. Maybe I should give it another try. Great nose. It sort of grows on you, but I think that's just because it's crushing my palate with the amount of alcohol that's in it. What is it, 12.7, so this is quite strong in a very intense style with a pretty intense treatment with all the different adjuncts and techniques they're using in it. The palate just seems a bit crowded and a bit confused, and there's no marriage of flavor on the palate. If the nose and the palate were aligned towards like what the nose is representing, this could be a really awesome beer. But there's just something going on the palate, something just a bit too harsh to be enjoyable for me. And at the price point, I think this is like $25 or something for 16.9 ounces, $25. That's pretty expensive. I mean, that's quite expensive. And this is not worth that. No, I would pay $12 for a 4-pack of this and probably not buy it again. This is a far cry from a lot of their other brands though, from the Bourbon County line. I haven't had this year's stout or this year's barley wine, so maybe those are better, but this Bramble take is not good, and I'm surprised that Budweiser let it out of their doors. Disappointing. It's pretty disappointing. Yeah, shit. Goose Island. Come on, baby. Well, you know, it is what it is. In terms of the controversy that surrounds these guys for selling out, I'm incredibly torn because, I mean, these were the guys, these were the entrepreneurs who took the risk to do it. You know, it wasn't anyone else, it was them. It was their project, it was their baby, and whether they want to sell it or keep it independent, that's their choice. I get the backlash. It can be very disappointing when brands that you covet and celebrate kind of turn their back on you. Wicked Weed comes to mind. That was a rough one. But at the same time, I get it. It's theirs. It's not ours. We're just enjoying it. But in terms of this particular one, the Bramble, I gotta give it a thumbs down. It's too expensive, and the palate is just, there's no union of character there. It's disparate. It's no good. Yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new. I definitely did for this episode. If you enjoyed it, hit subscribe and watch some more videos. Cheers. Oh.